Welcome to the Everyday GSD Podcast. Today's episode is sponsored by Good Dudes Coffee, gooddudescoffee.com. It's the best coffee out there, veteran-owned. Josh Bridges, who was on one of our episodes, who is an amazing individual, former Navy SEAL, and an awesome CrossFit athlete, started Good Dudes Coffee. So get your coffee at gooddudes.com. Trust me, you're going to love it. If you're not a coffee drinker, you will be a coffee drinker. And if you are a coffee drinker, you're going to love this coffee better than any other coffee. Thank you, Josh, and thank you, Good Dudes Coffee. Now, to our special guest, Leslie Bailey. I've got a short bio on you, and I appreciate that because your long bio is long, and it's pretty badass. You have your shit together, and you are a true everyday GSD human. So I'm going to read off a couple things here, and then we're just going to jump into it. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
Awesome. So you are the co-founder and CEO of Indy Maven, which is a lifestyle media company for women.
That's right.
Okay.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. And Maven Space. And what does Maven mean?
Maven means an expert or a connoisseur.
Ooh, an expert and a connoisseur. All right. A female-forward co-working, and event space in downtown Indianapolis. You also have been featured on Forbes' Next 1,000 list, named one of the Indiana's 250th most influential leaders. That's fucking impressive, Justin.
Very much so. Why do you think she's on the show, bro?
Because she's everyday GSD. And you were the recipient of the National Association of Women's Business Owners, which the abbreviation for that is NAWBO for Indianapolis Rising Entrepreneur Award.
Yeah.
And you've got some really cool stories to tell. So again, I've got 2 pages on you here, but I'm not going to get into all that because I think it's going to be better coming from you.
Well, let's do it.
Let's rock and roll, right?
Yeah.
So what brought you to Indiana?
Racing, auto racing. My dad started a series called Indy Lights back in the 80s. And
Indy Lights?
Indy Lights, okay. Yeah. And so I graduated high school. I moved to LA for a minute, went back to my hometown just outside Detroit and was like, okay, I can't stay here. It's a great town, but, not when you're 20 and ready to see the big city.
Right.
So big city, I moved to Indianapolis, but
Indy's a good sized city though.
No, it's great. It was perfect for me. Right.
Right.
It was exactly what I needed and obviously still need.
Yeah.
So I was just going to come down here, finish school and then be on my merry way to wherever else my life was going to take me. And it just kind of sunk its teeth into me and I'm still here.
Okay. I love it. So you said Indy Lights. And for those people who don't know what Indy Lights are.
So Indy Lights is like the starter series or the minor league of IndyCar racing. Yeah.
And we actually had a race car driver on the show, Sebastian
Saavedra, yeah.
Yes, yeah. Awesome guy who besides he was a go-karter in Colombia, he was one of the top 3 or the only 3 Colombians came to the U.S. and did Indy cars, but he did Indy Lights.
Yeah, so my dad was still running Indy Lights at the time when Sebastian came through, so I know him from back in the day.
Okay.
A lot of it, Dixon, Canan, Castro Neves, all those guys came up through Indy Lights. So it's been very cool to see and watch their careers and where they are today.
And your dad's name is Roger?
It's Roger Bailey.
For those people who are race car fanatics. Yeah. He's kind of a well-known individual in the race car world.
Yeah, he actually had a book come out last year.
Tell us about the book.
He would be sad if I didn't
We should get him on the show.
You should.
Yeah, he would be a great guest, actually.
Oh, my God. Get him some drinks in that man.
I'm sure there's some wild stories from him.
You better have a guest room ready. He's got stories. I definitely get my storytelling knack from him. But yeah,
I love it.
So he published a book that's called Boost. And
Boost.
So I believe it was Johnny Rutherford, who was a Indy 500 winner and very well-known race car driver for those outside of the sport. But he gave my dad that nickname Boost because, we need more boost. And my dad was a mechanic working on his car. Maybe engineer, crew chief. I don't exactly know what his position was at the time. They both would be like, come on, you know better. Yeah. But
come on, Dad, I've had a couple drinks. I'm on a TV show. Yeah. I'm on a radio show here.
A TV radio.
Yeah, TV radio show.
What are we doing?
What are we doing here?
He had a pretty epic career in motorsports.
So did he race?
He never did. No.
Okay.
He very early on, he tried, I think, but very early on had a friend crash and die, basically.
Okay.
And I think was probably just better suited more under the hood.
Right.
Than behind the wheel.
Yeah, we had Al Unser Jr. on the show, and I don't remember what episode it is, but he's got a crazy story too. I'm sure he knows your dad, or your dad knows him.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you mentioned something earlier, which I thought was kind of funny. We went and had a little pre-meal before the show, and we ran into a guy named Turner, and you said to him, and I thought this was kind of cool. You're like, normally you would introduce yourself and say, hey, I'm Roger's daughter.
Yeah.
And you're like, but now Roger's like says, hey, I'm her dad.
Yeah, he comes to town and he gets like, are you Leslie's dad?
Yeah.
So we've like switched our claim to fame on each other.
So let's talk about that. So you're here in Indy, and how old are you at this point?
Now?
No. When you
never ask a lady her age. I'm just kidding.
No, I know you're 22 right now.
Naturally, I'm about to be 40 next month.
Wow, good for you.
I was just about to turn 21. So
okay.
I moved January 1st of the year. I turned 21 February 16th, right following. So I mean, right on, like 21.
Right.
I moved on to Mass Ave. So for those who are familiar with Indy, it was just becoming a hot spot.
Yeah.
I knew no one, and rest is history, kind of thing.
Yeah. So you move here, and were you like a lemonade girl? Meaning, like, did you have like a lemonade stand when you were a kid? Because you're
the entrepreneur thing.
Yeah.
Yes, we definitely did, but we lived on like a dirt road in like a country. It was not really great for traffic. But my brother and I both, did that. I never thought about it until I started kind of doing interviews as I got established in my career. When people would say, like, where did this come from? I'm like, I don't know, I made it up. Like, I came up with this. I just kept falling into things. But in reality, when I think back on it, both of my parents were entrepreneurs and business owners. So now it totally makes sense, but you think when you're younger that this is like totally the path you've carved, and it was definitely not your parents' idea.
Right. And that's wrong.
And that's clearly wrong. Yeah.
Okay. So you moved to Indy, and you decide you end up starting a business, doing some entrepreneurial stuff. Let's walk through some
many lives.
Excitements and failures.
Yeah. It's exactly 20 years, right? Essentially. Wow. 20 years.
We've got all the time in the world. So let's
my 20-year anniversary and a full bottle of wine. I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I graduated high school. I signed a lease on a napkin on a house in Hermosa Beach with a bunch of dudes and a girlfriend. I was like, let's move to California. That would be fun. It was for a minute until it wasn't. Came home to my hometown. Fast forward, come to Indy.
And the hometown's Detroit?
Just outside Detroit, a town called Clarkston. And I had been working at law firms since I was like 15. So I got a job.
So you're not smart.
I'm not smart. I wasn't like a lawyer. I wasn't Doogie Howser. But I was,
you're smart.
Good at
smart
things,
lady. Yeah.
Clerical. When I thought, maybe I would go the law school path, but that was a lot of paperwork. But I got a job, actually full circle. You had Doug Bright on your podcast.
We did.
So Doug represented the franchise. Maybe it was not that's such a Hoosier thing. I think maybe it was just franchise, the band. Yeah. So the law firm I worked for when I first moved to Indy represented franchise.
And are you familiar with franchise?
Yes, we played many shows with those guys back in the day.
Yeah.
Those were the wild party days. We played with them at the Playboy Mansion. If that tells you anything.
Yeah. Justin and I go way back here too, but yeah.
It's amazing.
Bring that full circle.
Yeah, that's the only reason you're on this show, because like I went through all your PR people and you never replied, and then all of a sudden Justin makes one fucking call, and all of a sudden you're on the show. Look at Justin, he's like, this fucking guy.
That didn't happen. Yeah. So I was working at law firms, going to school full time. I just was in the last couple of years, there's been this movement of like the year of yes, say yes to everything, try everything. I just think that's what my path was, like process of elimination. I'll just keep doing things until I cross it off and say, I don't want to do that. Okay, so I don't want to go to law school.
Right.
It's literally my career path, not law school.
Right.
So everything else was just on the table. And then I went and worked. I interned at a radio station. No, not radio. Don't want to go into radio. So just like slowly, I worked in a boutique. I just did a lot of different things, but somewhere along the line, I got into blogging. I started a blog.
Okay.
Because I met a guy.
For people that live under a rock, tell everyone what a blog is.
Well, I didn't know when I met a guy on the street when I was bar hopping, and we became friends, and he's like, you should have a blog. And I was like, say more words. What? I like kind of heard of it. And I always liked writing. So I started an internet blog on the interwebs, writing about my life, just whatever
She acts like
came
she's
to
like
mind.
60 years
Right?
old over
I'm
here.
so old.
I used to read your blog. I quite enjoyed it, actually.
Oh,
I
thanks,
kept up with
Justin.
you.
Oh, that's
Thanks.
awesome.
I got, honestly, if I would have been smarter and like more business minded at the time, I would have caught on to the fact that it was actually doing pretty well. And
But those are lessons learned, right?
yeah. And also just, I was still like, I'm still figuring it out. I wasn't ready to commit to anything
Right.
in a number of ways,
Yeah.
but definitely not a career. So I started blogging, but through that writing that website, and the guy that I had met on the street, he was like, hey, you should come.
He's not your
write.
husband now, is he?
No.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
No, but I love him. I haven't seen him in a year. Joey Fingers, who also was back.
We just saw Joey Fingers out
know
at the
Joey?
bar. I know Joey well. Yeah. We're getting him on the show.
Joey was in a band.
Yeah,
like
Joey was in a very
great
successful band. Yeah.
Transmatic.
Yeah, Transmatic. Yeah.
Transmatic.
What
Look
was
at my
it?
brain. I'm
What is
not
it,
that
Justin?
old.
Yeah, it was Transmatic. Yeah.
Trans-
Joey's now producing movies, by the way, so he'll be
Oh,
on.
okay. Yeah.
I don't know.
It's full circle here.
I'm like a Kevin
Joey,
Bacon.
So Joey
So Joey
Fingers.
Fingers discovers me on the street, tells me I should write a blog. I do. That like fast forward.
Mom, that's his
basically,
real name.
Yeah. With a Z. That's big. Actually, I think he had something to do with franchise. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Maybe I saw them play together. It led to freelancing for, it was called Metromix. It was like the free paper.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And I had
I'm
like
yesing you, but I have no idea.
well,
but
they
I
were
got
in
you.
other cities. It was like a red box that you'd see a free kind of nightlife newspaper that was in these like plastic red boxes on corners. And I had like a nightlife column, but I also didn't want to just be like the bar girl. So I kind of
Right.
would just start writing about personal things in there too. That led to some freelance work for the Indianapolis Star, which led to a job with the Indianapolis Star, which led to my own column.
And you were featured in Forbes?
Later, recent, a couple years ago.
Okay. I jumped ahead too
Once
far.
I started my business.
Let's keep going back. We're in the back. Sorry, I jumped ahead.
No, it's okay. So I left my job at the Star. My mom was not in great health at the time, so I left to take care of her. And then she kind of got better, so I went and got a job at Indianapolis Monthly magazine.
And you said your mom passed away.
So she now passed away. Yeah, I think 7 years ago. So I was pregnant with my first son, who's about to be 6. But she had been sick my whole life. She had been diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer when I was in 3rd grade, 1993. So one or both my parents was sick my whole life. My dad was diagnosed with prostate cancer when I was in kindergarten. My mom got lung cancer when I was in 3rd grade. It metastasized. A few years later, it went to her brain. She had brain cancer. A few years later, my dad got diagnosed with lung cancer, quote unquote, but it ended up being a ball of silicone. He had a tumor of silicone on his lung. So he went through lung surgery, right, to be like, let's get out this tumor that we can't biopsy.
Are you kidding me?
Silicone. Isn't that sick?
That's the weirdest shit I've ever heard.
I know. Anyway, so he didn't have lung cancer, but we still went through. My parents had matching,
Like,
I don't know what you call that, scars,
Big
lung cancer
scars. Big scars.
scars on their back. Yeah.
wow. Hold on, I got to back it up. I
Yeah.
apologize.
No, it's
And
okay.
we might jump around a little bit, and we've got time, and we've got wine. So
I'll slow down.
No, do not slow down at all. Keep going fast, fast like a race car driver, right?
Right.
So your dad is diagnosed with lung cancer.
Prostate cancer.
Well, no, I'm sorry. I'm gonna jump ahead. He's diagnosed with prostate cancer, and it spreads to the lungs, but it really doesn't.
Yeah, they were like, well, my dad's really good about taking care of his health, and I think that he's friends with a guy out of Texas named John Meekum, and somewhere along the line did like a full body scan. Like he's like, oh, there's this new technology. It's 1990.
Yeah,
and,
right.
And that's how he got his. I think it was his prostate cancer discovered. Was just like for fun doing this full body scan, which like, hello, white male. Rich man privilege, but whatever.
Right,
It saved his life, great.
Yeah.
And then,
and good for him to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And then my mom with her lung cancer, she was a hairdresser and she smoked, and that was directly tied to smoking.
My mom smoked too and was a hairdresser.
Really?
Yes.
The coincidences.
Yeah.
Is your mom still alive?
She is.
Oh, that's good.
She listens to the show and she always says, stop swearing, Darin. And I promise her every time I'll do my best not to say the F word, but I always do.
Does she still smoke?
No, she quit smoking. She says, she doesn't say she quit smoking. She said, I just stopped smoking. Because every time she'd quit, she'd go back to it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden one time,
that's good,
and I'll make
actually.
I'll make this a quick story because this show's not about my mom or me, but it's about you. But I do want to share this. She put a pack of cigarettes on top of the fridge. And when people would say, are you smoking? And she said, no, I'm not smoking today. Yeah. She goes, but when I want to smoke, I'll have one. It's on top of the fridge. And every day she did that. And she never went back to smoking.
Talk about getting shit done.
That's some shit done shit.
It is.
And it was, if I'm probably wrong on it, but I think it was a pack of Kent cigarettes.
Never even heard of this.
And it was like all yellowed out from the sun and the air because it's just been sitting there for years. And finally one day she threw it away, but it was there for like years.
That's amazing.
And she was like, every time I quit smoking, I go back.
Yeah. So she stopped instead.
So she goes, no, I'm just not smoking today.
Yeah, not today.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a one day at a time, right?
Yeah, it's one day. It's getting shit done every single day. Wake up in the day and go, you know what? This is what I got to do today. I'm not worried about tomorrow.
Go, Mom.
Yeah.
And she's still here. Yay.
Yeah, she kicks ass.
Love it.
She actually just retired from her second job. She retired like in her early 50s from the medical, for pharmaceutical world, making the pills and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And then she wanted a hobby job. So she ended up getting a hobby job and she literally was unloading trucks.
What?
In her 70s.
That's
and
badass.
She's the best worker. And they just had a party for her like last month to celebrate her leaving. And she gave them a 1 month notice, by the way, not a 2 week notice, because she said that's what you always do to good employers. Anyway,
I love her.
Enough of my mom.
So can I just, as a quick side, heard somebody say like my friend recently met someone who became a clown at 75. Like just went to clown school.
Yeah.
I was like, this is, I think, something I should do.
Yeah.
Like I have these aspirations that I don't really want to load a truck and I don't actually think I want to become a clown.
She did it because she's like, I can outwork all these kids.
Yeah. But I'm going to do something like that.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, you have a lot of time left because you're only in your early 20s, according to our story right now. Okay. Back in the 20s, where are we now?
Yeah. So I took care of my mom. And then became the lifestyle editor at Indy Monthly magazine. And then I got married and then my mom got sick again. And in between there, I had just become pregnant. And so I was like 3 months pregnant. My mom passed away, which sounds like horrible. And it was horrible, obviously. But when my mom in 1993 was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, there's like a priest in the room and like, say your goodbyes, right? And I later, only recent years, looked at statistics. Like she lived 25 more years longer than she should have. And I remember in college, like interviewing her and for a class, and I just said to her something like, "How did you get through that?" And obviously, I didn't have kids at this time. I'm just in college, and she's like, "Oh, I had 2 young kids at home. Dying was not an option."
Right.
And that was the end of it.
That's it.
It was like, don't ask me anything else because there's nothing else.
End of the sentence, period.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also found out she'd been like engaged 4 times. And I was like, why? Well, how did that I didn't know about that. And she's like, I love this line. It didn't occur to me to say no.
Oh, I love it. Did she collect the rings?
I should, my dad's going to be like, what? I have this gold ring from her. Like I have this gold band from her that it's not something he gave to her. And I'm always like, was this it? But that's more of a band. So I don't know. I don't think so. I think not.
No. That band's from some weirdo.
But man, she has some stories too. Both my parents have stories. I probably know like a sliver of them.
Yeah. Your dad's going to listen to this and he's going to go, you only know a small sliver, darling.
And you only ever will. You only ever will. That's fine, old man.
Yeah. Okay. So you're working for Indy Star.
Yeah. So it was at Indy Star. I was at Indy Monthly, and then I went to freelancing.
And Indy Monthly is a monthly magazine,
city magazine.
Yeah.
And then I went to freelancing. I was the managing editor of the AAA Crossroads magazine.
Ooh, I read that in your long bio.
Which your grandparents may have.
Yeah.
I'm actually a AAA member, so I don't know why I say that.
Yeah.
I get it too.
It's a great organization, though, if you think about it.
It was fun. It was a lot of travel writing.
Yeah.
Actually, that's basically all it was travel writing, which I, for 2 seconds, was like, I'm going to go be a travel writer, but I'll just edit this instead. And
you might not remember this, but if you wanted to go on a trip from, like, let's say New York to Florida, they would send you Like
The triptychs.
yeah, you got it. Yeah. And you just keep, as you're driving, you just
Who's showing their age now?
Yeah, right.
I'm only 21.
Yeah, it's Justin's 22 for all you ladies out there.
Yeah, it was, but I thought, that would be a cool gig. And, but by that point I had my son was, then a year old, and I was like, okay, I don't want to go back and that was a part-time thing, freelance. I didn't want to go back and work for somebody else. And, while I had been at the Star, I had some ideas for a newsletter and a website. Well, I had already done a website of my own, obviously, this blog.
And how long were you at the Star for?
Close to 5 years.
You know Dan McFeely?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, he's a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I met so many cool people there.
Because I remember he
loved my
worked
time
there.
Yeah, we overlap for sure.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of thought, and so my Indy Maven co-founder, Amanda Kingsbury, had been my boss at the Star.
Okay.
She and Dan worked together, and she and I had all these ideas about things that we wanted to do during our time there that didn't get executed. And so I kind of had time on my hands. She had time on her hands, and we thought, let's try and pull these ideas together into something which ultimately became Indy Maven, which is the media company I have now that is female forward, focused on storytelling for women in Indiana.
So walk me through that when you say
Yeah.
women's storytelling.
So if you pick up,
could I go there?
I mean, it's the internet. You can go wherever you want.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But the idea being, so if you go pick up a copy of our newspaper, our local newspaper today, or probably most local newspapers, typically you're going to see a lot of men. You're going to see a lot of white men, and because, it's kind of the world. But then when you would often see women, we noticed they were getting recognition if they were cheerleading for someone else, or they were dead, or they were arrested. We weren't. And then if there was a woman that was doing something cool, she was getting pushed back to the lifestyle section, which I love the lifestyle section. My career has been in lifestyle, the fluff, whatever. But it was like, well, she started a bit. So this guy started a business and he's on the front page for it. She started a business that is arguably doing better, cooler, whatever. And she's back in the lifestyle section. So it wasn't that there shouldn't be a lifestyle section. It just should be like, who gets to have front page or whatever, the spotlight. And so we were seeing all of these women doing cool
But
things.
does that go about
city.
what sells though, right?
I mean, yes, and it still does today.
Right.
But when you look at the buying power that women have.
Oh, absolutely.
So when you are presented with advertisers and saying, well, we know that women control whatever percent, right? 89% of household spending. So in this house, in my house, I'm responsible for all of those dollars being spent. I get to choose which business, which brand, which product, right?
Right.
Because I'm doing the majority of our shopping and our
Yeah, you're making the choices. Yeah.
So then why are we creating products? We're advertising in products that are not created for the people who are with the purchasing power.
Yeah, it's a failure in a system.
Yes, exactly. And so around that time, we had seen products specifically in the media coming out for women. There was a newsletter called Daily Candy out of New York and LA. They went, multiple cities. And I just thought, we're not going to get that because Indianapolis is always like just small enough, right? Like the tier 2,
just not big enough.
We'll just be 10 years behind, just so close. And so
government contract.
Yeah. The Skim was a really popular one that had come out. And I thought, well, we still have we're still the 14th largest city. Like there's still a good sized population here of women who deserve to have their stories told, especially when they're the ones spending the money.
Yeah. And 33% of the population of America lives within a 250-mile radius of Indianapolis.
There you go.
Boom. Mic drop.
Right?
Facts. Someone's going to Google that and say it's so fucking wrong, but it's right. It's correct.
Fact checked.
Fact check. Everyday GSD podcast.
But then we have these products, right, that are super coastal. Like you're in New York and you're LA. Of course those things exist. And so, people would ask me like, oh, there are plans to expand there. I'm like, oh no, they have this. That what I am doing is not like, I remember once sitting in, I've only done like 2 pitches for funding ever. And I remember somebody saying like, well, what makes your, what?
Oh, look at Justin over there.
Just multitasking.
He fell asleep. Just kidding. Yeah, continue before Justin was doing another recording. He's like, I've got my own show over here.
He's actually working at another job right now.
That's awesome. Don't cut that out.
No.
Whoever, Cumberland Creative, who does all our post editing.
I'm doing promo for the show, all right? I didn't know my volume was up.
They're amazing. So shout out to them, but don't cut that out, guys.
Yeah. I don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You build 30 bridges.
Fuck one goat. My mom doesn't like that joke either. Sorry, Mom.
I'm just going to yell, Mom, every time you swear now.
Yeah, no, don't do that. She'll
take over the show. Yeah. Just kidding.
Okay, so your branding. Who
even knows?
What are you doing? You're getting shit done.
Yeah,
you're getting shit done.
Yeah. So today,
2
companies, got 2 little kids, husband, 2 big dogs, slobbery, big dogs.
Let's talk about the dogs after.
What do you mean? That's not the most interesting thing about it.
No, it is. And we had and actually you knew another guest that was on the show. I found out Monty.
Yeah.
And he was one of the first few guests on the show. What an awesome guy. And he made his own dog food.
I didn't even know that. I've known this guy for years.
Yeah, so he made his own dog food before like the all natural
Pet Fresh or whatever.
Yeah, and he was just doing it because he was like, I want these dogs to eat healthy, because he's this dude's like a helicopter pilot. He's like a badass dude. Most people that know Monty only know him for the part of their life they know him of.
Yeah.
So like, oh, I know Monty from Indiana. I'm like, do you know Monty that was actually a helicopter pilot in the
Did you know
Army?
him before Indiana?
No,
okay.
I met him through a mutual friend, but then when he was on the show and he told us all this stuff, I had friends that know him that were like, oh, I knew Monty. I had no idea. I was like, yeah, jiu-jitsu, helicopter pilot. I mean, lived in He's
a real Dos Equis kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, legit. And you're the Dos Equis lady.
Yeah. Oh, I hope so.
Yeah.
I've flown planes.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, continue. So 2 businesses. Let's talk about them.
Yeah. What do you want to know?
Everything about them.
Okay.
It's focused around women.
Yes. I think the interesting thing is, so my husband and I put $1,000 into the first business to start it. And after the first, just past a year, had $100,000 in revenue. And now, to be clear, that's revenue.
Oh, I got you.
People are always like, oh, you're doing well. I'm like, I'm not doing well.
You're killing it. You're like, actually, second mortgage on the house.
But not quite. But I think that's especially for women, I always try and my whole shtick, right, is being transparent, and to talk about the discrepancies in funding. And like I said, I've only pitched twice. It's not like I'm out there beating on every VC funder's door, because I don't know that that's the right path for me.
Right.
But I don't know if that's the right path for me because the world is not set up in such a way that that's the right path for me, or if that's just actually not the right path for me. Right. And so started that business.
Did you say you did a pitch with High Alpha?
No, I spoke at an event there, but I did not pitch them.
Okay.
No.
I was just thinking from earlier when we were talking about that.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I don't really fit in the tech world.
Yeah. That's why I was wondering. I was like, because that's kind of different.
Yeah, it's what I do is journalism, and it's hospitality. It's a lot of different things. There's a bit of tech, right? It's but I didn't. I know what I was telling you about earlier.
Can't wait.
When I was pitching, and they were like, "How is this different?" And I was like, "It's not different. I'm just trying to bring something to this market, right? I'm not inventing like a lifestyle newsletter that has existed for like many, many years at this point.
Right.
What I'm saying is there's a gap in this market, right? The same way any business fills a gap in the market. Like if it's successful other places and then you're the 14th largest city, you should also have these things, right? It was how long, like people who don't live here don't know this, but I remember, especially if you travel a lot, okay, burger bars were like such a thing. And then it took however many years it took. Like Indianapolis, it's such a unique city, right? It always catches up.
You said 10 years behind. I think 5.
Okay, fine. Well, maybe this was back then. Now, yeah, let's give it more credit. I'm not saying that's the case now.
Now it's like 2, maybe.
Yeah. Well, also, we have really cool things happening now.
It's amazing.
And that process has sped up, though. Like, I'm talking about literally 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I think I just I kept thinking it was selfish, right? Like, I was planning on finishing school and then leaving, and I didn't really know where I wanted to go, but I wanted to go somewhere cool, quote unquote, right? But then it was like, well,
did you end up going to Butler?
I did not. I went to IUPUI.
Yeah, because you mentioned Butler earlier.
Yeah, my dad wanted me to go there. He thought it was a beautiful
because that's
campus.
where my lovely wife, Jonica, went, our resident bartender, Butler grad.
I didn't.
And the former mayor of Carmel, Jim Brainerd.
Oh my God, I thought you were saying your wife was the former mayor.
No.
I was like, wait, I didn't know that.
She's the first lady.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, sweet. Oh, no, and I work with them a ton. And I think all but 2 of my interns over the last 5 years have been Butler interns. They're some smart people coming out of that joint. But I did not. I went to IUPUI because I started working right away. I always liked working. I never went to college full time. I couldn't do it because I've been working since I was 14, and it just didn't. I needed to work. I always needed to work. I didn't realize at the time, but I always needed to be making money, making my own money, and working while I was also going to school.
And I think that's important because that's an everyday GSD mentality, right? Because you can have your parents pay for your school, you can have scholarships, and you can just go to your 12 to 15 credit hours and kind of fuck off and be like, oh, I got a couple more years before I go into the real world. Or you can go to college, work, go to high school, work, learn discipline, learn these life lessons that when you get to where you are today and say, you know what, I want to have this lifestyle business or this business for women, it's not my first job.
Yeah. Oh, for
it's not
sure.
my first. I think you said it's not my first rodeo.
No, and I will say all along, I have always been super lucky and privileged to have safety nets in my parents' boyfriends, spouses. Like, there's always been somebody else that's helping me along. I'm not stupid,
right?
Like,
yeah, right.
Like, but also using that to my advantage, but also knowing that I didn't have to work. There were times where I probably didn't need to, but I wanted to. That was important to me. I like learning, and I like.
What's the worst job you've ever had?
Oh,
I like that you have to really think about it.
I haven't had anything that was really horrible, but I did work hospitality for the IndyCar tent. I was like a hot dog flipper. And so people who don't know racing, like, you have to get to the racetrack at like 4:30 in the morning.
In the AM.
Yeah. And when or at least get up at 4:30, like our bus would leave at 5, and I'm working with the chefs in hospitality. So it's really early mornings. And there's probably no secret that I was like a 20-something-year-old girl. I'm out till 3. Like, What do you mean? I'm getting to travel for free, right? That's like anybody in any industry. Yeah. When you're young and like, I'm going to work, but I'm going to go see the sights.
Yeah, I'm going to have some fun while I'm here.
So those were very long days. But I also I can't even say it was the worst because, oh no, that's not true. I had a job where the owner's dogs would come and poop in my office.
Okay.
Yeah, like the dogs got to have the full run of the facility.
Okay, and I love dogs, but I don't think they should shit in the
No,
office.
I'd come back from lunch and be like, there's tiny dog poop.
At least it wasn't their son.
That's your son.
That's a story for another day.
That's another episode of not getting shit done, literally.
But even then, the job... Great. But I don't know. I just don't look at things like that way. I can't think of anything that was a total disaster. I was a Red Bull girl for one day. I spent more time in training than I did out in the field. Yeah. Because they sent me to a high school.
For Red Bull?
Yeah. And I was like, what is going on?
Are you serious?
Yeah. Because meanwhile,
tell me about that.
I'm at the track drinking vodka Red Bulls, right?
Yeah.
And being like, I know what this does to my heart. No. Hopefully not pairing theirs with vodka, but I did. I had to go to this facility and do all this training. I had to learn about the entire history of the company and all of their affiliations and racing and aero sports and all the things Red Bull's involved in. It was like not so, and then maybe learn the ingredients. I definitely remember having to learn the owner's name over and over and over again, which I now can't remember. Is it German? But like that was the thing you definitely needed to know.
After the show, I'm going to show you this bottle that I have from Indonesia when I used to work for the government overseas, and I still have one bottle left.
It's like some top secret shit.
No, this is from there. And, it's wild. Anyway, continue.
Well, long story. I mean, I was a Red Bull girl for a day, and that's so I climbed in the car, that tiny car with these girls who I've never met before, and you have the stupid backpacks and you have the stupid outfit, and they were like, "This is your first stop." And I got out and I looked at these girls and I was like, "This is a high school," and they were like, "Yeah." And we're just like in the hallways,
right?
handing out Red Bulls. It was the weirdest thing. And I was like, this ain't for me.
You're a 15-year-old kid. Pound some Red Bull. That'll get you through the day. Oh, no. Yeah. I'm used to drinking Monster.
I'm going to say that was the worst job. Like I put more into the training than I did. My paycheck was probably so small.
Best job. You're like right now.
But no, best job I worked was the first attorney I worked for. Like to this day, I've been like, I could move back to Michigan. He's still practicing law and I could go work for Larry Barnett.
Larry Barnett, if you're listening.
Yeah, I'll send this to him. He'll love it. It was my job. I've actually.
Well, why was it such a good job? Because he took care of you. He was good human.
It was a good job because he trusted me and he thought I was smart and
No, he didn't think you were smart. He accepted that you were smart.
Yes.
He allowed you.
Despite my best attempts to try and prove that I wasn't, right?
Okay.
And it was somebody who, I remember in high school, my AP, like English lit, whatever teacher, writing these poems about everyone in our class. And his line about me was, Leslie sits there and wears her jeans and pretends not to comprehend all the meanwhile she's working on her agenda. Like that will always be in my brain. And I remember
say that
thinking,
again.
It was like Leslie sits there and sits there and wears her jeans and pretends not to comprehend all the meanwhile she sits there and works on her agenda.
Oh, that's fucking kind of weird.
And there was like a little poem about everyone in the class.
Yeah.
But I just remember being like, do you think I'm pretending like I'm stupid? And then I had that moment of like, you are pretending like you're stupid. And
you knew everything that was going on. You're like,
well,
fuck
I
off,
think that's a very teenage, maybe middle school thing to do for girls, right? Like, I don't want to be the smart one in the class. I don't want to.
But isn't it funny that you remember that from, several years ago, now that you're 22, a handful of years ago, but that resonated with you.
Yeah.
And things like that, I think, is what shapes a person, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that specific statement, but like now you're a person who tries to empower other women and individuals around you. Yeah. You're raising 2 kids and a bonus child. Is that what you
Stepson, yeah.
Stepson. But it's interesting because those little things empower you to make sure you never go back to that arena where someone's like, she's just acting dumb, or like they're putting you down without trying to put you down.
I think I thought it worked to my advantage, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a sneak attack. I'm going to let you think that I'm stupid, but I'm going to come up behind you and prove that I'm not. But I think the thing about that job was Larry Barnett did not put up with any bullshit. And that I was like full of it at that time, right?
And what kind of lawyer is he?
Family law.
Family law. Family law.
Yeah. Personal injury.
Yeah.
Did some divorces, but I got to see so many different, like people who come to a lawyer, you're at your worst, right? Like I have seen.
You're either in trouble or or you're trying to get out of trouble. I mean, like, yeah. I mean, there's other reasons, but like
plan for your life to be the best version of itself it can be.
Right.
You just see so many, right? Like the stripper who got killed by the drunk driver and the grandmother that got hit by the garbage truck, and seeing like the face of the woman.
Those were specific. Justin.
I think there's like a window there that has probably passed, so it's probably fine to say. But then also just how people behave in divorce. And this is like way off topic, but my high school science teacher who failed me, and for the first semester of Science 9 in 9th grade. And he ended up like being a client. I don't even know if nobody's going to look up who. I don't remember his name, so it doesn't matter.
Just don't say his name. I don't care.
I couldn't if
my mom's going to try to Google it.
But I remember finding out he was like getting divorced, but I kind of lost my lid on him a little bit. But then later, right? I think what I learned, what I'm trying to say is, everybody's going through something.
Correct.
If you work in an office like that, you learn that. But he also, again, just like no bullshit and how to get what you want, how to think smart, like to think faster, be a step ahead. I feel like I learned more there than I remember graduating college and him sending me a letter, because he loves to send letters in the mail, even though I think by that point we had email, and it was like, "Dear Leslie, congrats." And it was probably like a check for $100 because he's super generous and just always so thoughtful with that. But it was like, go directly to law school, do not pass go, Barney. Right. Yeah. That's it. And I didn't, and I'm sorry I didn't listen. I'm not sorry. I mean, I'm sorry to him, but like,
yeah, sorry to him, but thank you for him for like helping mold you to the person you are today.
I think he's proud, so it's fine.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he should be.
Yeah, that was my best job.
Yeah. I love that was your best job. Justin, what do you think?
Yep.
Yep.
Justin's like, I'm working on my second job over here.
No, Justin's now, since that little FUBA, Justin's been over there like just really paying attention. He's like, I'm ready, guys. I'm ready. Call on me. Pick me. So let's talk about the businesses. Let's talk about both of them, and then I do want to go back to your dad, Roger, but I'm going to wait a minute on that because I want to talk about a little about racing and how that that whole world. Actually, let's do that first.
Okay,
we're going to go to your business in a second, right? So because we've had several race car drivers on the show, as you mentioned, Sebastian, who you know, Al Unser Jr., who's like a legend of all legends, and hopefully that we get your dad on the show one day. That'll be awesome. Love it.
He's coming into town soon.
Okay, we'll have to organize that. See what she just did there. She's good.
She gets it. She gets it.
I forgot. I'm so comfortable. I'm like, this isn't.
You don't have to mansplain microphones to Leslie.
No. Yeah. Give me a microphone.
Give me a microphone. I'm here all day. I'm here all day. Yeah. God, I lost my train of thought. You got me confused.
Racing. You want my dad.
Yeah. No. So, what do you think? Because I brought up like the lemonade stand, right? Are you lemonade kind of girl, right? Yes. So. Do you, because you said your entrepreneurial background, when someone goes, oh, like my dad was a mason, my mom worked at a factory, and much better than that, just not just a basic mason or just like a factory worker, but like they taught me discipline. They taught me so many things in my life. When you start talking about your dad being in the race car world, it's a crazy fucking world. Mm-hmm. And living in Indianapolis or in the Indianapolis area, learning about racing and learning about these drivers and what they did 20, 30, 40 years, it's so different compared to other sports, in my opinion. And then being raised by someone in the race world, the discipline or the I think that's what I'm trying to say. The discipline that he ingrained in you and your mom ingrained in you helped you today.
Yeah, that's like a hectic, right? The travel.
It's travel.
It's a ton of travel. And like long days at racetracks. And like, yes, there's the beautiful, glamorous ones. And there's also the ones that are in the middle of fucking nowhere, right?
Say it louder so my
mom can. Middle of fucking nowhere. I'm sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Chickie. We love you though.
But it is like, there's nothing. And, it's one of those things. It's insular though. Like then I think a lot of times in racing, people don't realize there's a whole world outside of racing. There are people who are still like, you mean like NASCAR? I'm like, oh, right. You don't know. And it just happens to be that my world involves a lot of racing, and my family and my husband, and there's so many connections, but you can travel other places in the country and the world, but then also
so your husband's in the race car industry too, or was?
He actually was. His family had a team in my dad's series, but also his dad was also kind of a legend in racing, Sal Incandela. And
what's his name?
Sal Incandela. He has also since passed away. Also had some books, but my husband worked on that race team. But he grew up also in that same industry. Our dads knew each other back in the 60s.
Wow.
So I only met my husband, 10 years ago, whatever. But
And your dads knew each other.
Yeah, our dads knew each other. They worked together in Formula One racing back in the day. And so when we connected, we met. He was working at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and I was doing some blogging for them. My best friend Jessica had said, we're looking for writers, and this guy, he was running digital media. And so she connected us, and I was writing blog posts, like, cause they were really trying to get into the lifestyle side of racing, which is so funny now thinking that was something they were interested in. And 1 year ago yesterday, my husband launched a lifestyle racing website called Podium Life.
Podium Life.
Yeah. With Joseph Newgarden, who is a driver as well. And so, yeah, it's like, I can't get away from racing. It's definitely been there. But back to your original question, we both understand having parents who have a singular focus. Like when I say this is all my dad knows, my dad's smart. He knows a lot of stuff in the world, right. But like, this is what he has been doing. He's 82 and he's been doing this since 18? I don't know. I mean, his entire life.
He's been doing this for like 60 plus years.
Yeah. Whereas I look at my life in the last 20 years, we just talked. I jumped to this, to this, to this, to this.
Yeah.
So, the dedication to like one thing and the passion to one thing. My mom was a little more multi-hyphenate, multi-passionate. But she was a hairdresser, a caterer. But both of them, when we talk about like get shit done, right? My dad, I just saw him getting up at 4:30 in the morning, getting on an airplane, coming home, missing things, trying to get home for things in time. He also had a lot of fun along the way. So I don't feel bad for him, but I also saw what it was like to work really hard and to, try and be successful and work for your family. And the same thing, my mom now is home taking care of two little kids right from the very beginning. We went along when we could, we traveled to the races when we could, but also like she had to figure out how to get shit done being kind of a solo parent a lot of the time.
Right.
So I think that's with a lot of sports, the military, right? Same thing. It's like any sort of career or passion that really, it does take you away from your family for these long periods of time. There's always somebody, if you have a family, there's always someone or some people who are left at home feeling that.
Yeah, and taking care of everything else.
And taking care of that in some way.
The passion that your mom had working as, like, for lack of a better word, raising all of you guys thank you, Justin. Raising you guys when, you're talking about like your dad's on the road. It's like when someone's in the military, or it's just amazing that the amount of effort that takes place behind the scenes that people just don't realize. Would you like some more wine?
Oh, I'd love some more wine.
Why not?
You should ask them to be a sponsor. I love this wine.
We have a wine sponsor, or we would.
Oh, just kidding.
Yeah.
We'll drink that next time.
That's why we're hiding this.
Awkward.
That's why we're on the.
It's me. Awkward. I chose this one.
No, actually, yes.
Move on.
Yeah, I was actually going to put one of Sam's bottles right here, even though we were drinking this one.
Actually, we should just make fake labels and put it over all the way.
Yeah.
He probably would not like that.
No, he wouldn't like
does
that.
All the time.
But Sam's wine's so fucking good. Williamson wine.
Oh, you can pour that for me next time.
We'll pour it
I'm
after.
Just, again, inviting myself
after
back
after
the
show.
I have so many interesting things to say.
Yeah. How you doing on time? I know you.
Great.
I know you're very busy.
Good. Oh, that's what I did not realize. Yeah, I'm very busy. Fridays are my days for things like this, but I do have what I was going to say. These two kids, right? And that is plus my stepson. But again, he's only with us summers and holidays, so. For the most part.
And he's the 14-year-old.
He's 14. So the day-to-day, I'm dealing with a 3 and 5-year-old currently.
And those are your biological children?
And those are our, yes, wow, with my husband. For you. So thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. But yeah, that it took having them to then really realize, but what has been awesome and kind of bums me out, my dad now is like, I didn't realize what your mom was going through.
But do you think it bums it out? I'm sorry. Do you think it bums him out that he says that, or
it bums me out because I realize he only now is really appreciating what she was doing for him and our family and for us.
I think that's very normal, though.
Probably, but but she's not here for us to turn and say it. I think
she knows cooler.
It though. Yeah, and honestly, she was so cool. It's fine. It doesn't really bum me out, but there's part of me that just has that. It's that twinge that I think happens when you lose a parent.
Yeah. No,
but I'm also glad for it. I'm glad on the part that he now sees because there's a lot of stuff he's now realizing he missed. It's also kind of validating,
Yeah.
God, here comes the daddy issues.
Yeah. Right.
Oh no.
Oh no. But also those things made you stronger as a strong woman in a
super independent from very young.
And as you mentioned, a male dominated world.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, I'm repeating what you said, right? Not verbatim.
The world is male dominated, correct.
But I'm saying, but you mentioned that earlier.
And journalism.
And
racing.
And we had Christy Lee on the show.
Love Christy.
She's awesome. And I can tell you, if you haven't watched that show, go back and watch that episode. I don't remember what episode it was. Justin will let us know here shortly. But her it's amazing. She was inducted into the
she's a legend.
Radio Hall of Fame. She's a badass, and she was doing radio when like dudes were saying shit they should not be saying to women at the workplace. And I know this happened everywhere back then and still happens today, but it's like to be able to overcome that and still be an extremely successful individual in your field. Fucking props, man. And I look at you as an everyday GSD woman where you've created this world around you to help other women.
Thank you.
Right.
I think and thanks to Christy, because she paved that way, right? Where I think I was on that cusp of thinking I had to behave a certain way or play into a certain shtick or whatever, all of those things, right? But now, if I were coming into it, even this much later, I would probably approach it differently and that's just the world, right? Time's changing.
Right.
But I have to say, I feel like what I do now and knowing how I would handle a situation like those I also encountered, I would handle so much differently. Number one, because I'm older and wiser and all that stuff. But I just think that what she went through probably gave that voice to women and that we were able to learn from that. And she really pioneered thing.
I mean, she really did. And some of her stories, and again, you have to watch that show and you can go back to it. But we talked off camera too. And some of the stuff, there was an actor and I forget who it was. And I said, who was like your best interviewee? And she names a guy, or she was like, I'm not sure which one it was. And don't quote me on this. It was a little while ago. But then I was like, who's the worst one? And she was like, bam, this guy.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say his name. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's not the show. But she was like, he was a dick. He was this. He was this. He was this. He was disrespectful. Like he was, demanding. And, he puts his pants on just like all of us. Yeah. Whether it's a dress or a pair of pants or I'm wearing pants and, he's wearing a dress, whatever. Like, get your fucking shit together, dude.
Yeah.
And treat everyone the way you want to be treated.
Yes.
And when she said that, and again, I'm paraphrasing, and some of that might have been off camera, but I was like, God, she is such a badass. And, and I look at you and I think of, when Justin told me that you finally agreed to be on the show. I
wish I was that cool.
I'm just kidding.
I can't get a hold of me.
But all your people were like, who's everyday what? No, but it's exciting because, obviously you have two boys.
Yeah.
So you're not raising women, you're not raising girls, but you're also very strong in the female community around here. And I think that's super important.
I'm surrounded by dudes, so much testosterone in my house. Yeah. My dad stays with us a lot. Obviously, I have these boys, 2 to 3 boys at a time. We have a best family friend that stays with us on a regular basis. I mean, both our dogs. It's just I had one female cat and she died last year.
Oh.
I had her since
she's
I was
in kitty
20.
heaven.
She is. Both my cats.
What was her name?
Perilla.
Oh, Perilla.
Perilla McGilvery.
Mrs.
Perilla McGilvery was her full name.
When Jonica listens to this, she'll have a little tear in her eye.
It was just, it's the cat you get when you're 20, and she was just my buddy. And then also her little brother, Dr. Alfred Sanchez III. Why am I talking about my fucking cats? Oh my God. Anyway,
she's the cat lady.
I don't have any cats right now. Point is,
where's Pepe? We have a little cat.
Do you?
Yeah, studio cat.
Oh, he saw a litter box when I came in.
Yeah, well, that's actually the extra litter box. She's got 3.
Of course she does.
Yes. Her name is Pepe. Pepe Renee.
Of course it is.
Pepe Renee. I'm surprised. She's a little studio cat. She'll be around here somewhere.
Now we're talking cats. Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get back to the show. Justin's
he's
like, this shit just went
has
south.
taken a turn. I'm sorry, I'm talking about my cats. My point is, I'm surrounded, right? And I take raising boys very seriously, but it is kind of, I don't want to say ironic. It's just kind of interesting that I have also created this world for myself professionally, where I'm surrounded by women at all times, basically.
Yeah. But you're a mentor and a coach to them. Yeah,
I try to be, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you actually do coaching.
Well, yes, I do. Yes.
No, I mean, you really do, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But you're not doing it for lack of a better word, a financial gain. You're doing it to empower more people like you, to make sure that individuals that can learn from you and learn from either your mistakes or life lessons that you've learned, right?
Yeah, and coaching's a huge industry. Like, so again, if I were smarter, I would probably find a way to make this more lucrative or more my career. But right now, my focus is just like,
what is your 100% focus right now?
My focus right now is simplifying. Like, when you have, I don't want to say high growth, because again, it was high growth in that, like, the revenue grew quickly, but there's also, it's expensive, right, to do what we do. And overall, things are on an upward trajectory. It's so tempting to do the like, oh, do I want to scale? Do I want to get a second location? Do I want to expand? But also I have this thing tugging at me where I have these two little kids that are only going to have those cute little elbow dimples for like a little bit longer. Right. And I'm like, oh, so I am in that trap of working motherhood, of trying to figure out, but I'm also trying to be a little bit of like a pioneer in that. Like, I think there's this shift, and this is very, industry specific, and I don't know if it totally applies to your audience, but there's this, I'm
sure it does,
shift and maybe this is just new information, but there's this shift, I think, with sort of women between the ages of, let's say, 25 and 45, especially who came up in this blogger influencer world and of this like hustle grind. And that's not just for women too, right? And of course, everybody post-COVID, we're like, oh, we were all grinding so hard. We were hustling so hard. We shouldn't have been doing that. Why were we killing ourselves? We need to slow it down and simplify. I look at this as like a pendulum swinging, and we had the whole like hustle and grind. Every day I am seeing I've been blogging for 14 years. I'm shutting it down. I have been an influencer for 15 years. I am shutting this down. I have written books. I'm done. Like, there's just this pendulum swinging to like, also maybe it doesn't have to be so hard. And I think that should apply to everybody. So for me, the whole next year, and I don't know what that looks like professionally or career-wise, business-wise.
You're not shutting shit down.
I'm not shutting shit down, but I also...
You're going 100%.
Don't...
Look at Justin over there. He's like, yeah, come on, man. You're going... Justin, would you like a little more wine?
I don't...
Yeah, you're going 100%. Like, when you shut down... Let me just... For the audience who...
Maybe like a power save?
No, so here's the deal.
When your computer
I'm gonna throw this out there for the audience. When you say you're shutting down, at your shutdown level, you're still operating at a higher level than most people that are working at full speed. So I think that's what people have to understand.
When I voluntarily shut down, but I've also had last year I had 2 burnouts where I was so incapacitated with anxiety and depression and burnout that was it was like a shutdown, all systems shut down.
Right.
So I want to avoid that.
But that's different.
Yeah.
That's an overload, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because I was going to say because
it'll look like something different. I'd love to write a book. I got some book ideas. Like, it'll keep going. I guess what it maybe is like taking a different form. Like, it's not shutting down. I'm not burning. I will say though, at the end of last year, I'm burning it all to the ground. Like, mic drop. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Peace out. Like, I don't want to do this anymore, which I think is just any entrepreneur or business owner will tell you they've been there.
Yeah.
But that was the one.
But that's not in your blood to do that. It's in your blood to say that. But at the end of the day, you're going to wake up and pick up the toolbox and go to fucking work.
Oh, yeah. It'll look different.
Fact.
Yes.
Fact.
I mean, I'm already like
it's a fact.
Class about my book. Like, I'm taking a class on publishing a book, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just shifting my energy elsewhere. Yeah. And it also doesn't mean I'm shutting my business down. It just means
you're recalibrating and refocusing on what means the most to you.
Yeah, which I think like anyone who wants to, you can't move forward by staying in place. Right? Is that
Fact.
a quote? I think I might just made that up.
See, there we go. That's just like tie your shoes and run.
Tie your shoes and fucking run. Say it again.
Tie your shoes and run?
No, that's the one.
Oh,
that was an Uber driver.
No, you just quoted somebody.
Yeah. But say what you just said.
You can't move forward by staying in place.
Right.
That's poignant.
That's good.
Damn, I'm good.
Damn.
That's
No wonder she's on the show.
That's going to be a reel.
That'll be in the book, Everyday GSD.
Yeah. So we're doing a book, another book, Everyday GSD, and then we're also doing a children's book, Everyday GSD, but that stands for Get Stuff Done for the Children. But it's important. I mean, I feel like, I don't have children. My wife and I don't have children. It's our choice. We chose that path. But I have two beautiful nephews, actually nieces, a handful of kids in our life. And fortunately, they're being raised by good people. So I look at what they're doing and I'm like, why are these other kids doing this shit? And then I hear someone, a mom or a dad go, because this is how the kids are these days. The teachers will fix it, or it goes back and forth, and I'm like, oh, what a fucking disaster, right? Yeah. And you have
so 3, 6 by the time this goes out.
Yeah,
and 14.
3 and a 6-year-old. Yeah. The 14-year-old, obviously. Yeah. A higher age level, but the 3 and a 6-year-old, it's important that those children understand, like, you can't do this, or you can do this, and this is positive reward. But like, I just don't know, man. I don't have children, so like sometimes I get so frustrated when I see these kids just acting like fucking menaces, and the parents are just sitting there ignoring it, like at a restaurant or something. And I remember going back to visit my brother and his wife. And I used to think he was kind of strict on the kids. And I literally watched them at dinner one day, and Seamus, the youngest, he kind of got up and he was kind of like acting like a kid. And my brother's like, you're in a restaurant, sit down. And act right. And like say thank you to the server. And those kids sit right up. And I can tell you, those kids today, to this day, are amazing, amazing kids, because they were disciplined, and it wasn't, discipline wasn't new to them. That's that was part of their life. Yeah. And I think we're missing that in our children today.
I also think it's like we're simplifying. We act like that's such a simple thing, right? Because it goes back to, we don't know what anybody else is going through. So when and that's the thing I try and remind myself, because it drives me bonkers to see a family sit down at a restaurant and just like dole out the iPad, right? And then
like this.
And I'm just like, you haven't ordered your drink yet. Like, I definitely have my phone in my purse that I will hand my kid at the end of this meal if he's losing his shit. What, like, I'm not there. I'm not, there's no screen, right?
Yeah, my brother was like, no, you don't do electronics at dinner. We're at a dinner.
Which would be my preference. But also at 3, I'm like, if I want to stay and finish my margarita at the Mexican place, I'll probably hand you my phone. However, again,
Verde?
It's that, no.
Oh, okay.
I don't even, Las Familias?
Oh.
It used to be Cancun. They changed.
The one over in
on 86th Street.
Oh, okay.
That place is a dump.
I was like, that's a shithole.
They've redone it.
No, actually, imagine if one of those is a listener. They're like, we love that place. We love that place.
Also, you can take they're so wonderful with your kids. We take it like Mexican.
Oh, there we go.
They're not babysitting. I just mean they don't mind that our kids are there. They hand out
iPads at the door.
I get it. They're like, iPads and tacos for fucking everyone.
No, I was looking at the parents who just handed out 5 iPads or whatever. The point is, and in that case, it really...
What is the point? I love it.
The point is, I try and just say, I don't know what that parent, especially if it's like a solo parent, I don't know what they're going through. Maybe she's on day 7 of her husband being out of town, and she's like, my freezer broke and I am just here to feed my kid, and I'm going to lose my mind, and I'm having margarita and I don't care. Here's my phone. Right. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get it.
It's that balance of that, but it's also like the tools of kids that we don't necessarily, the tools of kids, the tools of parents. I feel like we're all, when it comes to parenthood, lacking a lot of tools.
But here's my question.
I don't know. It's just nothing else in life. Does anybody just, I can say this.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, I came from the hospital and they were like, good fucking luck. Why not? Well, nothing. There's nothing. I've had more like
Boy,
education in my car.
I'm gonna get heat on this one. But when your mom came home from the hospital, what'd they tell her?
I don't know.
They didn't give her a fucking book.
Well, right, but that's what I'm saying. That doesn't make it right. I'm saying maybe.
Look how good you turned out.
Oh, no offense, but that's not. No offense to my mom. It wasn't because.
No, exactly.
So leave it to the kid. I just think we could all use some more tools.
I don't disagree, but I also think we need to take fucking responsibility for who we are.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
Again,
we did talk about
this. It's very
this.
easy for me as a non-parent, but I can tell you, as a kid growing up who had very good parents, in my opinion, who raised me, in my opinion, very well. They disciplined me when I was supposed to be disciplined, and they also knew when maybe I fucked up, but like the teachers were like maybe a little against me, but they stuck up for me, but they made sure that I was punished at home. That shit doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
That shit doesn't happen anymore. And I think it's a problem in our society. And again, we're getting a little off topic, and Justin's probably over there shaking his head. He's like, shit. But
we're talking about cats and parenting.
No, but it's interesting because I look at you as you're an extremely intelligent woman, and you're a mentor to many other women that people look up to you, and they literally strive to be you. Like, that's fucking cool, right?
Thanks.
And then you go, well, if I was raised this way, or if we could raise these children this way differently, and it's like, man, like just everyone just needs to take responsibility for their actions. We talked about washing dishes. Remember, it's in my book, Back to Bulletproof. Little plug for the book. But I talk about washing dishes. If one person's responsible for washing dishes in your home, and you have dinner, and after dinner that person washes the dishes, or it's a team effort. At the end of the day, after dinner, you wash the dishes. Justin said it earlier. The sink is not what did you call it?
The sink is not a place to store dirty dishes.
It's not a place to store dirty dishes. It's a place to fucking wash your dishes.
Yeah.
And so in the morning when you wake up and you have all these dirty fucking dishes, I know, Mom, I'm sorry. You have all these, because it winds me up. You have all these dirty dishes in the sink, and you wake up in the morning, you're making breakfast, or you're making whatever you're doing, and you see all these dishes. Then you say to your spouse or the kids, you didn't do the dishes. And this whole controversy, this whole like argument that doesn't need to happen. Robert Conlon, who was one of my ghostwriters, my collaborator when I wrote Back to Bulletproof, we talked about washing dishes in the sink, and he was like, this is amazing. If everyone just did their dishes and who was responsible to do it, then there would never be an argument about dishes. So you never have to tell your kid, take the trash out. The last person who puts the top of the trash on there and the trash can's full, take the fucking trash out.
So
right? Why? This isn't a lesson in life. This is do your fucking job. And maybe that's why I shouldn't be a parent, because my kids would be like this.
What you're saying. So there's two things I have to say to that.
You don't like it?
No, I actually think you're saying what
you do.
Yeah. So two things. My kids go to a Montessori school currently.
And what does that mean for anyone who doesn't know what that means?
Montessori is where they call it child-led learning. Maria Montessori was an educator in Italy, but the idea is that the child gets to sort of direct what they're interested in, and it can sound very like crunchy and granola. Like
so little kid says, I want to do crayons and smoke weed.
Well, no, he's 3. He can't smoke weed. He can do crayons. But the idea, like, there's no requirements. They still have to like.
Okay, so there's
things. It's more just like right now, I am super into math.
Okay,
and that's going to be the thing I'm into, and I'm going to master that skill. Rather than like you must master math, English, science, literature, whatever, physical, all at the same level. It's like I might work on math for like 2 months. I'm a math kid. That doesn't mean he doesn't get to work on art. It just means if that's the thing he wants to master first, he can master math first.
And how old is this? What age does this go to?
So they start. My kids are in the 3 to 6 class. There's actually, I think it starts at 18 months at this school, but they can go all the way up to high school. Like, that might not be the option.
Is this some white privilege shit where it costs a lot of money?
Well, so there's this. Yes and no. There's a public school that is a Montessori school in Indy. It's both.
And I'm just joking because we were joking about that.
Yeah, but also, yes. And there's like this whole. I didn't choose it. I chose it because it was a convenient location, but now I'm kind of into it. But the point is, my kids come home and they clean up after themselves and they do dishes and they love washing things and sweeping
I love it.
and whatever, because they also have this part of a philosophy is taking like that it's for the whole community, right? And that you are a contributor to the bigger picture. And so you're a contributor in your family and you're a contributor to the classroom, and everybody takes turns doing the snack or doing the washing up or doing the whatever. And so interestingly, I think what you're saying is actually very in line with that.
Okay, good.
There's also a book called Fair Play that's been really popular in the last couple of years. And so it's a book about the distribution of tasks and rests within a household. So whether you're married with no children, whether you're married with 6 kids, but the idea being, you know, that women take the larger load of responsibilities in a household, but also accounting for that is like the actual mental load. If you're familiar with that phrase, are you familiar with that phrase?
I
right?
am.
So like.
I am.
So for those who aren't, right, like dinner gets on the table, just because you boiled the pot of water for the spaghetti does not mean you handled dinner, because somebody else bought the pot, bought the spaghetti, bought the sauce, checked the pantry, made sure you had sauce. If you didn't, add it to the grocery list, did shopping, found the time in the day to go to the grocery store to get the shopping, right? So that's the mental load, all of the stuff that you don't necessarily see. So I think what you're also saying is very interesting, because they even have like a deck of cards. So how you dole out responsibilities in your household. Who's in charge of, I don't know, tracking Christmas cards? Who's in charge of, so what you are saying is if everybody. I
thought you were asking me at my house.
I'm not asking.
I was like.
But whatever, right? It could be down to like who's in charge of getting the oil change, who's in charge of this, right? So we all have all these tasks in life across the categories that make us function as humans in the world, in Western civilization in this year. So what you're saying is it shouldn't just fall onto one person, because if it falls 100%. On one person, it's not going to get done.
It's got to be a team.
And it can't be on nobody.
Right.
So it has to be a team effort.
And find out what you're good at and what someone doesn't like. Like, for example.
But have the conversation.
Yeah. My wife does not like to go to the grocery store.
Great.
Yep. So guess who goes to the grocery store?
You.
Me. Guess who likes to go to the grocery store?
You.
Me. Works out perfect. She puts a list out. Yeah. I go to the grocery store all the time. I'm there all the time. Sometimes every couple of days, sometimes weekly, but I go there.
And how you organize it is your business.
Yeah.
The point is she doesn't like to go. She doesn't want to go.
And you know
go.
You know it never runs out of in the fridge? The things that she wants. If she wants eggs and she wants her broccoli, it's always there. And that's my responsibility. She doesn't like to get gas in her car. Does she know how to get gas in her car? Absolutely. She traveled around doing sales for years. She got gas all the time. She does not like to go to the gas. She doesn't like to go to the bank. We lived in Boston. She's like, banks get robbed. I don't want to be at a bank. And I guess who goes to the bank? If I have to go to the bank for whatever reason, because I can't do it online, I go to the bank. There's things she does that I don't like to do. And it's not because she's the woman, that's her job, or I'm the man and that's my job. We communicate.
And that's what it's about. It's not about like hierarchy or gender or ranking. No. It's just about.
At the end of the day, she's a fucking producer.
This has to happen.
And she gets shit done. And she's like, these are the things that I'm good at. These are things you're good at. So like, why are we kidding ourselves? If this is in my suck bucket, why am I doing it?
Right.
If I'm not good at getting gas, why would I go and get gas?
Right.
If I'm a terrible grocery shopper, it takes me 2 hours to go do something that takes 30 minutes. Why would I go and do that?
Yeah, I'm not going to ask my 5-year-old to go grocery shopping,
right?
But he sure as hell loves cleaning a window. Right. Give that kid a mop bucket.
Yeah, clean the window.
He will go to town. And by all means, have at it.
What do you think, Justin?
You got your kid out of his bedroom?
Well,
how do I get my kid out of my bedroom? Out of his bedroom.
He's older though, right?
And he still just wants to be in his
and
bedroom.
There's a computer. I don't
Max,
know.
I love you, buddy. I know you're not listening.
Hi, Max.
Max, you're probably not listening.
No, I don't know anything beyond 6. Don't ask me after that.
I just want to go. I want to go back to your bio and because we're going to wrap it up here, and I got a little gift for you. But I want to make sure. I want to make sure we didn't miss anything. Did we talk about the Forbes next 100?
We did.
1,000. Okay, we did. Yeah. Is there anything that we missed? Because I feel like you're a different guest that we've had on the show, and I say that in a very positive way, because I know there's so many women out there that want a GSD and something's holding them back for whatever reason, right? It could be themselves. It could be mentally on their own, or the person they're with is not supporting them. But you have these outlets and these organizations that you've created that they can come to you and you can help them and you can mentor them.
I wish I could say that, like, I had the resource. So when you
I'm not saying
about,
resources
we talked about the next chapter,
right?
So my Indy Maven started off actually as a directory, and it was like, the reason it started is because I remember I was home with my first baby. I had literal spit up in my hair, and like a baby spit up in my hair.
It's fucking gross.
It's gross. And I was like, haven't showered, all these things, and I remember that week getting text messages. Hey, do you know where I should get my eyebrows done? Where should I go on a date with my wife or husband for dinner? It was like all these people texting me. It just happened to be, which is not unusual.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, my goddamn Rolodex. That's my brain, because I've done lifestyle, right? So I know where I would recommend that you should go based on what I know about you, and you should go for your anniversary dinner or whatever. And so I was like,
where do you recommend for an anniversary dinner?
Oh, well, it depends. I need more information. What do you like?
Okay, yeah. we
custom.
We just did one at Oakley's.
Oh, OG. Oakley's is OG.
Yeah, in the chef's table.
That is a solid choice.
It was so good too. And I did the vegetarian chef's plate because my wife's a vegetarian.
Okay.
And they wouldn't do both. And I was like, oh, that's fine. Like,
you took one for the team and did vegetarian.
I'll tell you, it was amazing.
It was so good.
Yeah. Then I came home and ate a steak.
I'll talk about food all day long.
Come home and eat a steak.
That's all.
Cheater.
Just kidding. Wink, wink. I came home and ate an Anthony's Spinalis.
Oh, jeez.
Is good,
best steak in the fucking city. Anyway.
Well, there's one thing I want to talk about. I know she mentioned it, which surprised me. I think that this might resonate with a lot of people when you mentioned, and you weren't afraid to mention it, which I appreciate, when you say sometimes it's hard to beat GSD and you had depression and all that kind of stuff. How do you deal with that? How do you get over that? How can you help people understand that happens to more people that are, it's nice that you're admitting that.
Yeah.
So, explain a little bit how you kind of overcome that.
Well, so I'm a big proponent of whatever works for you. I have been on a small dose of Zoloft since I was 14, on and off.
Oh, shit.
And in this last year, I actually tried something else, and I had 2 really bad episodes. And it was and then one was in March and one was in October. And after October, it was the one that clicked where I was like, oh, I didn't have this before. I switched medications. And I, for whatever reason, and then thought, oh, this wasn't happening before. So for me, it's a combination, right? Medication, drinking a lot. Alcohol's not great for anxiety and depression. Right. Just going to throw that out.
Have you tried natural remedies like mushrooms?
I have.
Weed?
Yes. Yep. Yes. And it's like whatever works for you.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So for me, and it could have been different. The year before might have been something different. But in 2023, it was, I need to go back on the medication that works for me. I need to drink less. Walking outside, so that was my little formula. Yeah. But I had to try different things to find what my formula was.
Okay.
I just think that we should take that more of a, when we talk about it, or get shit done, right? What do you got to do today? That should be in that. Take my medication.
Yeah.
Go on a walk. I take my walk and my exercise now. And again, I'm not doing probably what you're doing, which is probably super impressive and your arms look like it. But for me, it's I just have to move for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's nothing to be ashamed of.
No. And I hope that a different season in my life that will be an hour or 45 minutes, right?
Yeah.
But right now, I've got 30 minutes, whether it's a Peloton, a walk outside. And for me, water, nature, that's really important. I don't know. I think that's good for everybody, but I also can't.
Absolutely.
I can't prescribe that.
You're not a doctor, but that makes sense, right? But you probably could be.
I could be.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you saying that because I think it's important that people know, and Justin and I were talking about this because we're working on the next book, right? And in Back to Bulletproof, I mentioned if you think you're GSDing because you have to clean your garage, right? You have to go out and clean your garage. So you go out and clean your garage, but what you do is you neglect your children in the house.
Yeah.
And they thought you were going to go to the park, and they thought they were going to do a little event with you for the day. but you're like, I've got to go clean the garage because that's part of my GSD day. You're not GSDing. You're actually failing.
Right.
So you have to make sure when you're GSDing, whatever that means, your priorities are set properly.
Yeah.
So for you, if it's health, or maybe that 30 minutes of fitness, that 30 minutes of fitness for you could be the same as 2 hours for someone else.
Exactly.
Or 15 minutes for someone else. Exactly. Maybe that someone else wants to just go, you know what? I just need to get outside and walk for 10 minutes and get back in the house and I'm good. And you know what? They're fucking getting it. They're doing it. And again, I got to go back to like, why I'm so impressed with you that you're not shooting out prescriptions and telling people this is the remedy. You're saying this is what works for me. And I'm here and I'm available.
Yeah.
To share my story.
Yeah. I mean, what I would like to do is figure out how do I take all that information, the directory in my brain, because I'm a huge consumer of podcasts and books and newsletters and any kind of media. Like I hate it, but I am a bit of a personal development, self-help junkie. But I also try and take that with a grain of salt now.
Right.
But I also sort of take it as like, I want to know because I want to know what's available, because I do like to not necessarily prescribe, but I like to be able to say,
this works.
When someone comes to me, that this might be a good resource for you, to give you just a suggestion to put you in the right path. Because who doesn't love just somebody saying, read this book or do this, just try it. Right? I don't know if it's going to work, but like, I like having that information. I like to be able to have that. I like to be that resource. So my next thing is to figure out how to take all of that information. And again, last night I read a book called How to Keep House While Drowning.
Last night I read a book.
It was a short book.
Okay, sure.
See Dick run.
This is going to be the longest podcast ever because we're going to be talking for fucking hours. Oh, by the way, last night I read a book, and then this morning I woke up and I was like, I think I'm going to read another one.
I swear it's not a long book. I did read the book.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just a fast reader.
Okay.
But she dresses just that, right? She's like, my living room might be spotless. My living room floor is spotless, but like I've got 9 loads of laundry. Because you can't, like, I don't know. And she's like, maybe you can have it all, but I guarantee you, if your house is like Martha Stewart fucking spotless or whatever.
But it's not.
But it's not. But then also, does that mean you're ignoring your kids? So exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting that you are actually so more on to like sort of the modern working mom pop culture than maybe someone might surmise.
Might think I'm
judging
not.
a book by its cover. So well done, you.
Well, I appreciate that.
But
Thank you.
So basically, how do I take that from like what I gained last night from that book, and how do I, the podcast I listened to on my way home today after this, and kind of put that all into something, I don't know. But how do I take that, regurgitate it, and vomit it up where it's delicious?
I love it. And you got to make sure you put a little sugar on it.
Sprinkle.
Well, listen, we've been at it for a little while now. I want to thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Before I said this earlier, I've got a little gift for you, but before we do that, do you have any last words for your listeners, my listeners, our listeners? Just something that you can leave them with that they're going to go, wow, that's awesome. Whether it's something in business, whether it's to specifically women to empower them, or moms raising their children, or just, something about everyday GSD. Cause you've dropped so much knowledge today that I'm fucking impressed. And we're going to have a lot of good reels out of this. Crumbling Creatives are going to be like, oh shit, we got some opportunity here. No, but I want to give you the opportunity to say one last thing before I wrap it up.
The thing I always come back to, and not as just like a line, but I think that we are all so much stronger than we think. And so I was so impressed earlier, your history of guests, right? Whether it's someone in the military, it's a race car driver, it's an entrepreneur, like just that moment where you think, I don't have like another ounce in me. And then you just have a little bit more. And I'm not the person to just say, drive yourself to the ground and just like push it further, but give yourself more credit and more grace than we think, right? Like, and if you dig a little deeper and there's nothing left, that's okay too. And being gentle with that, but also taking that extra little dig to see if there's anything else left. I think we should just all give ourselves a little more credit there.
I fucking love it.
Thanks.
Well said. Listen, I have, like I said, a little gift for you.
Give me all the gifts.
I'm sure I'll give you some more gifts after too, off the show. But I've got a little everyday GSD tank top for you.
Love a racer tank.
I know you're gonna rock it out.
I am.
And then I've got a little hat for you. I know you're not a hat.
So my head's so small.
But
I would love to wear it.
Her husband's gonna look good.
I'm sure
my
your
husband,
I'm sure
Daniel,
your
will
husband,
look great in it, and it's got the flat.
And I'm thankful he, obviously your Fridays are your day where you reflect and do all your good stuff. So I'm glad you were able to spend the time with us today.
Thank you.
And I can't wait for this episode to come out. It's going to be fucking awesome. People are going to love it. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
You too.
Thanks for watching the Everyday GSD podcast. Episodes come out on the 1st and 15th of the month. If you want to watch people or listen to people that Everyday GSD, please download and subscribe wherever you listen or watch the Everyday GSD podcast. Everyday GSD.